in Syria. Let's talk to Julia Lenarz, Executive Director of the Human Security Centre, a Foreign Affairs think tank. Good morning.
Good morning, Rachel.
On the issue facing Labour at the moment, this letter that Jeremy Corbyn, the leader, has written says he doesn't believe that the Prime Minister has made a convincing case that bombing so-called IS in Syria would actually strengthen national security. What do you think of the Prime Minister's position on that?
I actually agree with quite a lot of what the Prime Minister has said yesterday. I think he has made a very key point here. He made it absolutely clear that there is no reason why we should stop in Iraq. We have to realize that the Islamic State doesn't believe in nation states, that the Caliphate has no borders. So it is essentially one war we are fighting. And the Prime Minister has also made very clear that the Islamic State is based in Syria. It has its command center in Raqqa, in its de facto capital. It has planned the assault on Iraq from Syria. It has planned attacks on the West from Syria. So the Prime Minister is quite right that it makes a lot of sense for Britain to extend airstrikes into Syria.
Yeah. Jeremy Corbyn also says in this letter he sent out that the Prime Minister has not been able to explain what credible and acceptable ground forces could retake and hold territory freed from IS control if that was to happen because of bombing. Now, the Prime Minister claimed there are 70,000 fighters in the Free Syrian Army ready to fight IS. Is that right? Is that an accurate assessment?
Well, I would definitely agree with the Prime Minister that not everyone fighting the Assad regime is a terrorist. I mean, that's what we sometimes hear from people who want to keep Assad in place. And we have to remember the jihadists were not the ones starting the revolutions. They were the ones hijacking it. I would be careful, however, to characterize the Free Syrian Army as a coherent group. They are not as coherent by any means as, for instance, the Kurdish GPJ or PKK. The FSA was quite strong in the early stages of the conflict, but then because of a lack of Western support, they split into different fractions, and some of them are now riddled with Islamists. And that doesn't mean that we can't work with the other factions of the Free Syrian Army, and indeed we've done that. For instance, in northern Syria, we've seen the Free Syrian Army cooperating quite successfully with the Kurds in liberating the strategic border town of Talabiyah.
Interestingly as well, I know that you've looked at the possibility that if we do engage in airstrikes, and these are effective in damaging IS-held territory, then the outcome of that could be, at least in the short term, a more dangerous situation for Western countries. Explain why.
Well, you see, the thing is that one of the reasons why so many people are drawn to the Islamic State is this narrative of success. They have created this myth of invincibility. And as long as they were able to make progress in Iraq and Syria, I mean, they reached their peak last year, 2014, they were quite capable of selling this myth to their followers. But now, they are losing ground in Iraq and Syria. They've lost about 25% since last year, mostly in the Kurdish areas. And this, what I call the twilight zone, where, they're not really defeated, but also not making great progress anymore, makes them extremely dangerous because they need good news. And if they can't get the good news at home, they need to get good news abroad. And good news abroad for the Islamic State means that Americans or that Europeans, and that makes them extremely dangerous to us.
Thank you very much, Julia Lenarz from the Human Security Centre. That's a Foreign Affairs think tank. It all made for a pretty